to do that. And we have some good games, obviously, this week. But it is odd, isn't it, Shane, that about a good quarter of the league has a week off.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, no question about it. A lot of Major League Baseball coming to an end. Some the
Mm-hmm.
Braves and the Mets are in a battle, but they got canceled yesterday and they're canceled today. So we'll see how that plays out. Um, Brent, real quick before we get to moving along here, talking college ball, Andy asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. DJ Douglas is redshirting and headed to the portal. Why? Um, I get information on my show that I guess I missed that. Um, I would have assumed he would have been redshirted by now. He's pretty old. No idea, Andy. Did you know anything about that? He's a safety for
Yep.
Florida that started at Alabama, then went to Tulane, and now he's here.
No. That I mean, obviously, we're in the week that people are going to redshirt. If they had played, that's when they were going to redshirt. So some of that's just trickling in. But no, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, another kid that's redshirting, Bear Alexander. People are
Yes.
familiar with him, big defensive tackle who was committed to Georgia for so long. Went to USC last minute, and he is now in the portal. So we got a lot to talk about. It's a crazy world we're in. But Brent, the AP top 25 is out, and it is an all SEC football country for the
It
most
sure
part.
is. Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, or on the top 10, and Missouri is number 11. I'm not real sure yet that Missouri is the 11th team in the country, but that's where they are at this moment. They keep winning, but they certainly have issues, and LSU, with all their issues, is 14. So that's Shane. That's a bunch of SEC teams in the top 15.
Yeah, there is. And Oklahoma's down at 21, A&M's at 24. So tough league. There's no question about that. Brent, there's 20 unbeaten teams left in the Power Four conferences.
There are Miami, Louisville, Pitt, and Duke in the ACC. Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, Bama, Georgia, and Ole Miss. For the SEC, Utah, BYU, UCF, and Iowa. For the Big 12, UCF has some interesting games coming up with Florida and Colorado. Big 10, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, um, Illinois, Indiana, and Rutgers. So that's your unbeaten teams. By the way, Army and Temple tonight. Tomorrow night, Miami actually plays. Folks may have missed this, but they play Virginia Tech. Washington also plays at Virginia. Shane, I know you caught this. Army's at Temple, and how often do we see this? Army and Navy are 3-0. The last time they were both 4-0 was 1945.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So,
Yeah, it's crazy. Navy
mm-hmm.
just demolished Memphis Saturday.
They did,
Um,
didn't they? Mm.
they did. So yeah, tomorrow night, as you said, Virginia Tech's at Miami, and the Huskies travel all the way across the country to face unbeaten the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. So yes, for your viewing pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
for tomorrow night. There's some good games actually. Tell us who you think the premier, national games are this weekend.
Well, obviously Georgia and Alabama is number one. Illinois at Penn State is another. They're two ranked teams. That's on NBC and Peacock. That will be an interesting game if Matt Bielema wants to really get something going. This would be a great time to do it against Penn State. Luke Altmaier, who was at Ole Miss, is your quarterback in Illinois for folks to see how they're doing. And Louisville at Notre Dame, that's a 15 and a 16 playing each other. and you've got Oklahoma State at Kansas State, 20-23. So we've actually got 4 games with ranked teams compared to what we had last week, which were much fewer than that.
Yeah. So Mark asks, is Shiano still at Rutgers? Yes, he is at Rutgers.
Yes.
Robert says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Creed Whittemore is now redshirting.
He is. Yes.
Probably not a bad idea for Creed. He's a good player, boy. He's a good player. All right, Brent, let's talk about that real quickly. That Illinois at Penn State, you got 2 undefeated teams. As people said, you got Luke Altmaier. You know, Illinois is not playing the normal offense that Brett Bielema has played over his years in the Big Ten. They're spreading them out and letting this kid throw the football. He's a Ole Miss transfer, was recruited and signed at Ole Miss by Lane Kiffin. Just got lost in the shuffle, so he ended up transferring. Can Illinois beat Penn State up at Happy Valley?
Maybe. I don't think they will, but they could. Altmaier has 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. I mean, he may be as good or better than Drew Allar, for Penn State, even though Allar has the highest passing rating among Big Ten quarterbacks. So that will be a interesting game. Illinois has +7 in turnover margin, so that really helps them. Penn State's averaging 255 yards rushing, so that this will be an interesting game, or at least I certainly hope it will be, as Penn State continues to try to be undefeated.
Yeah, be a really good game, I think. Most people are aware of this right now. I was not aware of it until somebody talked about it yesterday on the program. The UNLV quarterback, Matthew Sluka. Tell us what happened out there in Vegas.
Well, Sluka was promised verbally a minimum of $100,000 from one of the UNLV assistants. Well, none of that money has come forth and been paid. So we're learning a lot of this and what to deal with this. So Sluka, who is the starting quarterback on an undefeated team, by the way, UNLV, their coach is Barry Odom, who used to be at Missouri, and frankly is a really good defensive coordinator who has been around the league. Look, this is a situation here where the sooner that players can get contracts, frankly, the better they're going to be. I mean, this is another. It was a verbal promise, wasn't kept. Now, does UNLV even have that kind of money for NIL? Is another question that goes on with that. Now, to go along with this, their running back at UNLV announced basically the same thing, that he is going to redshirt, will not play the rest of the season. He was second among carries with that. You mentioned Bear Alexander for USC. He is redshirting, going to sit out the rest of the year. Also, the thing with Bear is that they're, I'm trying not to be disparaging here against the kid, but look, he's been at, I think, 7 or 8 different schools since he was in high school. So there are just some issues there that he needs to deal with. But the main one that caught everybody's attention yesterday was Sluka at UNLV, that is redshirting and is upset because he did not get the money that he was promised.
Yeah. Just want to mention one of our new sponsors, Core Power. These shakes are outstanding, 42 complete grams of protein. Make sure you go get you one. I'm drinking a good old chocolate one right now, Brent. You may need one of these if you want to get bigger, stronger, faster, Brent.
Let me tell you something. I love those things, and right now I've got about half a dozen in my refrigerator of vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. And they are, and look, they are absolutely delicious. I mean, a lot of these, without giving you a commercial here, a lot of those are not real tasty, but those aren't they?
Yeah, yeah,
Really, really
very,
love
very
them.
good, very good. All right, we got a bunch of people before we jump around the SEC here. People are talking about players now redshirting. Are they, if they redshirt, do they still practice? Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
here's what's interesting about that in today's world. You know, if you're redshirting now, you're probably thinking you're going to go into the portal at the end of the year. Kids aren't just going to quit, so to speak, kind of like the Vegas quarterback and running back, because
right,
they're as soon as they quit, the checks that are being deposited into their accounts for NIL will be done as well.
right.
So crazy world we're living in right now. Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Unbelievable.
All right, Brent. Like you said, the game of the week, Alabama's hosting Georgia. Just curious, what is the price just to get in the ballpark for this game? Do you know?
I know that. I think the ticket. I think the face value of the ticket is. I believe it's 150, if I remember that right. I may be off some with this. I mean, obviously the ticket person, as we say in the vernacular, is going to be really happy with this one. But I mean, it's got to be easily double that. Frankly, I mean, the weather's supposed to move through. It would be a great crowd, two undefeated teams, two of the better rosters, two Heisman Trophy candidates at quarterback. Both the defenses have played well. There's no way in the world that Georgia is going to play. Now, Kentucky had a lot to do with this. As badly as they did, Georgia playing as badly as they did against Kentucky. They'll be much better than that. Um, and I mean, there's some numbers here that are interesting. Kirby Smart, after an off week at Georgia, is 24-3. So you might keep that one. I mean, Bama's dominated this series. Frankly, over the. I mean, of course, this is during the time of Nick Saban, basically. But I mean, they will both be ready to go. I mean, there's some injuries, obviously. Tate Ratledge at Georgia, I think, is the worst one. What would Georgia do? But Georgia has the depth that they can deal with that. Georgia's favorite. I mean, I get that by a couple points. It may be pick 'em by the time the game comes around. I mean, look, this will live up to the billing, I believe, on Saturday night at 7:30 on ABC.
Yeah, Andy says he does our research for us just to get in the ballpark, $238 right now.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's the cheapest. And that's probably up in a corner where you can't see half the field. Uh,
probably.
yeah, should be a good one, no question about it. Two tremendously talented football teams. And Alabama is the last team to beat Georgia in like the last 3 years, right?
Yep. Beat Georgia in the SEC championship game last year. Kirby Smart said that Alabama's, and again, that this is a line of scrimmage game, regardless of how many Heisman Trophy candidates both teams have, and whoever controls the line of scrimmage is going to win the game. Alabama controlled the line of scrimmage, particularly in the first half last year, and Jalen Milroe was able to get some key runs at key times. So that will be a lot of it. And look, Shane, is what you've told us all along. No matter how complicated we want to make the game, games like this are won at the line of scrimmage, and who can control it. And we'll see that Saturday night.
Yep, one of our new sponsors, Florida Cracker, the brand for original Floridians. Great food and Southern hospitality in the center of the universe, Brooksville, Florida. FloridaCracker.com. Got Brent Beaird here on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Okay, a really interesting game to me. Bobby Petrino, who's now calling plays for the Hogs, they're going to A&M. I like that. I like the Hogs in this game just because of offense. Now, if they turn it over a bunch of times like they did last week against Auburn, they're going to get clobbered. But I think they match up really well against Texas A&M.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's very true. And look, there's some. This can be very really interesting in a lot of ways. Auburn lost to Arkansas last week. They had a lot of turnovers, and we'll get into Auburn in a minute. But Arkansas forced a lot of those turnovers. JaQuindon Jackson has really evolved as one of the better running backs in the league. Taylor Green has played well. And look, frankly, Arkansas should be undefeated. They should have beat Oklahoma State, lost to them in overtime with that. The Aggies have pretty well owned this series in a lot of ways. It's a very emotional series. And I believe this is, again, I'll double check this at Jerry's World. That's where they usually play this game.
You're right.
So I mean, A&M is the interesting thing here is Connor Weigman's is still out. Marcel Reed, who frankly has looked good, is probably going to be playing here and starting. A&M struggles throwing the ball. They're 116 in the nation passing, but they're 8th in rushing for 256 yards per game. And Arkansas has got a good run defense too, so that's going to be interesting also. But yeah, I agree with you, Shane. This is a big game for both of these teams because it will certainly go a long way in the possible winning season bowl game.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally forgot they play that in Jerry's World, but I still like the Hogs in that game. Auburn hosts Oklahoma. They're playing at home once again. Oklahoma coming off a tough loss against Tennessee. They've made a quarterback change. What do you see happening in this game?
I just don't see Auburn scoring enough points to win.
I don't either.
Frankly. Now, Hugh Freeze is now 5-12 in his previous 17 games against Division I teams. At this point, after 17 games, Brian Harsin, who they basically ran out on a rail, was 9-8. Hugh Freeze, after 17 games, is 8-9. So ponder that. Auburn had an awful game. They still can't be able to figure out the quarterback situation. Hugh Freeze has made all the headlines for the wrong reasons. We'll get into that in a minute. But still, Oklahoma is having their own issues. Jackson Arnold is benched at this point as quarterback. And you're going to see, as a matter of fact, the Oklahoma field goal kicker is out for the game. That's disappointing. Oklahoma's supposed to get Nick Anderson back, one of their better receivers, and Michael Hawkins Jr. is going to be the quarterback for Oklahoma. Peyton Thorne is going to be the quarterback for Auburn. A couple of things happen here with Hugh Freeze. Freeze has a tendency, for whatever reason, to throw his coaches and or his players under the bus. Now, most of us, or a lot of us, grew up with coaches that they knew their players didn't play well, but what they would come out and say in public would be, well, they didn't play well because it's our fault as coaches. We didn't coach them well. Well, Hugh Freeze basically talked about how badly it was that they need a quarterback who don't throw the ball to the other jersey and a running back who can hang on to the ball, doesn't fumble. Hugh was feeling his oats on his coach's show the other night and said, well, if we played Arkansas 10 times, we would beat them 9. I don't know what universe he thinks that's going to happen in, but there's no way that would happen the way they're struggling offensively. So, again, Shane, could this be a 17-14 thing? The way these quarterbacks are struggling, and to Auburn's credit, their defense is pretty impressive too.
Yeah, it's going to be low scoring, I would assume, but I trust. For some reason, I just trust Oklahoma's defense and Oklahoma with the quarterback change doing. I don't know. I've watched enough of Auburn the last 2 years I don't see them moving in the right direction for
Yeah,
whatever reason.
agreed.
John has a question on Facebook Live brought to you by Melvin Law. He says Bobby Petrino was once the head coach at Arkansas and now has returned to call plays there. Any chance Florida gets Dan Mullen to do the same? I would say zero chance.
Hmm.
Uh, I think Bobby, he loves Arkansas. I just don't think Mullen's ego would allow that. I don't know if the university would
Correct.
do that. And
Correct.
um, I think whoever, if we do have a new coach next year, he will call the plays.
Yes.
Um, so, all right, the Mighty Gators are off this week. Brent, thoughts on Florida against Mississippi State?
Yeah, I mean, the rush defense really needs to get better. Obviously, everybody knows that. State ran for 255 yards. The problem Florida's got is they're facing a team in UCF next week that's number one in the nation in rushing offense, averaging 375 yards per game. Now, KJ Jefferson is your quarterback at UCF, so people will be familiar with that. Gators missed a lot of tackles, 23, so hopefully that can be improved on. I thought Graham Mertz played really well. Frankly, I know a lot of them were shorter intermediate passes, but they still connected. His numbers were really good, 19 to 21 for 203. Hopefully, it will be a good off week for them. They get a lot done. Aiden Mizell is a guy who played well according to the coaches. Sophomore in the game, so a good opportunity presents itself next week with Florida and UCF.
Yeah. Kanye Ron on YouTube brought to you by Clyde Plumman says, speaking of Hugh Freeze, Lane Kiffin said that he felt Freeze would steal Ole Miss's the Grove personnel. I saw that quote. What he was referring to is uh, I think either one or two of Ole Miss's coaches were hired last year by
Yeah,
Hugh Freeze. Walker Jones is not going to go run the collection for, or whatever it is, collective for Auburn. He's an Ole Miss guy. But that was Lane taking a dig at somebody as normal, which
sure it
there's
was.
nothing wrong with that. Speaking of Lane, Kentucky rolls into Oxford, 11 a.m. start there. This one will be on ABC as well. Kentucky has struggled at times this year. Obviously, we know how they played Georgia. Ole Miss is just putting up crazy numbers. I want to say the last time Kentucky, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, they should have beaten Ole Miss. They had a couple bad breaks. What do you see in this game, Brent?
Well, to your point, the Ole Miss has won the last two meetings by scores of 42 to 41 in 2020 and 20 to 19 in 2022. That may be what
Yeah,
you remember,
yeah,
or those games being close. You've got a good matchup here. Trey Harris, the wide receiver at Ole Miss, is one of the best anywhere, and he's been incredibly impressive. Maxwell Hairston, the Kentucky defensive back, is been impressive too. So that's going to be something to watch. Rebels are number one in the nation with 423 yards passing, 55 points per game, and they're number 12 in rushing too. So look, the big thing is, can Kentucky stay in the game? Vandergrift did a good job against Georgia, and I still think Kentucky will get a bowl game and they'll be okay. Let me encourage our viewers. You can appreciate this. Lane had a video this week of he was sitting there, but believe it or not, talking to his daughter when she was putting on her makeup.
yeah.
It was the
It was
best
great.
thing. It was the best thing I've seen all week, frankly. And look, and I've kind of got a daughter that's got a little bit of the attitude that his daughter does. So I appreciated that greatly as they talked about different subjects. I don't know how many other people besides Lane, Shane, can pull that off, but it was just delightful to watch that as they talked about different things. And the daughter wanted to go to New York in December, and Lane saying, "Well, I believe we very well may be in a playoff." at that point. Are you aware of the playoffs? So it was a lot of give and take and a lot of fun. I encourage folks to look that up.
Yeah, I thought it was that's Lane being Lane. I'm telling you, he is the modern day Steve Spurrier.
He is, isn't he?
Here's the thing: is if Coach was young at Lane's age with the modern technology, he still wouldn't know how to use it.
True.
He would still take his jabs publicly in press conferences because Coach still has a flip phone, believe it or not. Yes.
Yeah, but yes, I do believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. This game here could be a shootout in Tiger Stadium. LSU hosts the Jaguars of South Alabama, and South Alabama's playing good football.
They are. They really are. We saw them the other night on the ESPN game, and they were really, frankly, very impressive. Now, Garrett Nussmeier is playing well as we thought he would. Really, the most difficult injury easily last week was Harold Perkins getting hurt, the linebacker at LSU. He's out for the year, and so their best linebacker, arguably their best running back, and John Emery's out for the year. And one of their defensive linemen, Jacob Guillory, is now out for the year, or he was a few weeks ago with that too. Now, in the last 2 weeks, South Alabama's averaged 67 points a game, 48-14 over Appalachian State. A couple weeks ago, they played a lower division school. Gosh, I think Shane was it was 70 or 80 points. I'll look that up in a minute. Yeah. But so to your point, 87 points that they can really score. Major Applewhite is a coach at South Alabama. He was at Texas. He's been on the Alabama staff. So a lot of people know him. Gio Lopez is their quarterback. So to your point, I would agree with that. With LSU's defense struggling, that this could be a really fun game.
Yeah, it'll be a shootout for sure. All right, this game will not be a shootout. This game needs a running clock. Mississippi State travels to Austin to face the number one team in America. And Brent, Mississippi State, I will stand and say this once again. In all my years of watching SEC football,
yes,
I think that's the worst team I've seen. Even worse than the Vanderbilt teams.
Wow.
They're bad. Wow. Really bad.
Well, yeah, they really are. And it got worse because Blake Shapen, their quarterback, is hurt, and he is out. Now, Michael Van Buren is going to be replacing him. And by the way, to follow up on something you said, or that one of our viewers mentioned, is that Creed Whittemore is redshirting for the rest of the season. He played in the final 4 games this season, made an impact, but really a good player in a lot of ways. So certainly wish him well for whatever happens there. But and look, State's got a brutal schedule, frankly. For Mississippi State, 5 of the 7 remaining SEC games are against top 10 opponents. So, Shane, it's going to be getting a lot worse for State before it gets better, isn't it?
Yeah, they'll be 30 to 40 point underdogs in all the games.
They will.
Yeah, a couple of people here said Creed will end up at UCF. Yeah, I would keep UCF. Don't count out the Pitt Panthers though, as a possibility for him. He's their kind of receiver for Cade's offense.
Listen, that Pitt team's a really good team, isn't it?
Yeah, Cade Bell, Kerwin's son, brought that offense that they've been running for years. And they're putting up numbers. They're coming from behind. His quarterback is a transfer from Alabama, Eli Holstein.
That's right.
So good young kid, understands the game. Brent, you're real quick before we move on from Texas. I haven't watched all of Texas games that Arch has played in, but I think he's pretty damn good. He is way more athletic than his uncles, and he throws better in both of them.
Yeah, you're really right. And listen, he's got some wheels.
Yeah.
He can run when he needs to do it. And the reason this is going on is Quinn Ewers got hurt What a wonderful situation is to be able to have a quarterback like Arch Manning to be able to come in. The great thing about Arch Manning, and Shane has mentioned this over the years, Arch is very settled. He knows he needs to wait his turn, but he's also got an opportunity now. And Arch is going to be the quarterback, obviously, after this year. When Ewers gets well, he'll be back. But Arch is just I'm curious what you think about this. If I'm wrong, tell me. But to me, Arch has handled this very well. He's a level-headed kid. He knows this is a chance for him to run the offense. But when Ewers comes back, he knows how it goes. He'll go back to the bench. He'll be able to play some, and he'll be ready for next year. Of all the physical talent he's got, Shane, the thing that's impressed me more about him than anything else is his maturity, and I have no doubt he gets that from his family.
Yeah. John wants us to know that his Cooper's son, not Peyton or Eli. Yeah, we're well aware of that.
Yes.
But he got his granddad's athleticism. Peyton and Eli did not get granddad's athleticism.
That's right.
Because Archie was the back in the late 60s.
Yeah, in early 70s, yes.
He was the Johnny Manziel before Johnny Manziel. A joker could run.
Listen, we really need to say this, and I'll do it very briefly. That's as good of an analogy as I've heard. But people need to Google Johnny Manziel if you forgot about him at A&M. And then you need to go back and look at Archie Manning. Archie Manning was as elusive and as great a leader and accurate a passer. And to me, Archie Manning was ahead of his time.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually at the Ole Miss Alabama game in Legion Field when he and Scott Hunter put up about 1,000 yards. So I'll suffice to say with that. But Archie was what was an absolutely incredible quarterback in his time.
Yes, he was. Silverback concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. A couple of texts before we move on the Titan of our text line says, the Gators were the last team to beat Georgia in an SEC regular season game with Trask. Yeah, that was a while ago. Josh in Mississippi on the Titan of our text line says, if Cam Ward plays like he is again at the better teams on their schedule, can you see him being a top 5 QB in the draft? I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about who's going to be in the draft. I don't think Miami plays any better teams on their schedule moving forward. This one is from Michael in Tennessee. It says, have you watched any of the Aaron Hernandez drama on FX? In my opinion, it's utter trash. I have not seen one bit of it and probably will not.
Right.
Shane, to you and your listeners in the path of the Helene, stay safe with the impending hurricane. Thanks for that, Michael. And last text here from Gator Guy says, Marshall's the number one guy in coverage in the country. How do we stop UCF's great running game? I was suggesting the bear front as UCF's number one in country in rushing, and we can't stop the run. I could care less if they try to throw against the bear front. In fact, I hope they do. Here's why. Our corners are good. Throwing isn't what they do well. We can stay with them if they have to win throwing. Yeah, I agree with all that. Yeah, I've said multiple times Jason Marshall Jr.'s had a really good year. I've always been a fan of his. I think he's outstanding, regardless of what people say last year. Brent, I can't remember if we touched on Missouri, but my goodness, they got away with one.
They really did, didn't they?
Vanderbilt deserved to win that game.
They sure did. Yeah, Missouri's 4-0, and they know it's by the skin of their teeth. Frankly, I mean, they're not really good yet. But Brady Cook's been okay. Luther Burden's really good. Their wide receiver, obviously, that they're having to replace their running back Schrader from last year. But I think they'll be okay. But I'm with you on that. I mean, again, it's amazing. Vandy lost that game. Their field goal kicker missed up. It wasn't a gimme by any means, but it's a field goal he normally would get. But Vandy will need to learn how to win games like that sooner or later. But again, look, Missouri's kind of a mixed bag right now, and I think they'll be okay as it goes along. By the way, Chris McClellan, the Florida transfer, is one of their better players on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm. Tennessee, great win for them in Norman. They have a chance, and the reason I think they have a chance to win it all, Brent, is because of their front four on defense. I think
No
that's where
question.
they've made
Yes.
A huge improvement, bringing in some players because we knew Heupel's going to be able to score. The quarterback didn't have to do a whole lot on the road because they played good defense. They ran the football. Just your thoughts on Tennessee?
Well, I totally agree, and the numbers back it up. In the SEC, I won't go into all of them, but Tennessee's the number one in total defense, number one in first down defense, number two in rush defense, number three in third down defense, number five in scoring defense. Shane, does that paint a picture of how well they're doing on defense?
Yeah, that does for sure. I got a text here. Wants to know from the 561. That's down in Miami area, I think. Is anyone in charge at UF? Scott Strickland hides like a child. I don't know what people want to do right now. I mean, I think we've talked about it numerous times on this show. If you make somebody the interim, who would that be? And then you got to pay them more money. So why
Right.
waste more money?
Right.
We need to save our money, in my opinion. Okay, ACC, before we get you out of here, Clemson, after they got just blasted by the Dogs week one, have been blasting everybody they've played. What's going on there?
Well, I think the offense is coming together. Cade Klubnik he struggled last year, but the lights kind of come on for him, so that's made a difference. They host Stanford, so that will be interesting. Yeah, they put 59 points on NC State. And oh, by the way, Shane, Clemson next week plays Florida State. So this week, Florida State plays SMU on the road. Now, FSU actually got 7 sacks on defense, so that helped them. But this is a number that you don't want. FSU is averaging on offense 13.8 points per game. And you're playing SMU this week, Clemson next week, and both those schools put up 50 in their games over the weekend. So FSU, but playing a bit better. I don't think DJU is playing much better, frankly. I mean, he's just kind of who he is at this point of the season. And again, just to remind folks, Miami hosts Virginia Tech tomorrow night. So that will give you a chance on Friday night to see Miami. South Florida, as you thought, gave Miami some trouble. And then Miami won the game, and Ward had over 400 yards passing, and they're doing fine. Their defense is getting better. And by the way, North Carolina's at Duke, so hopefully they can rebound after giving up 70 last week. So the ACC is a pretty interesting conference too.
It is. Speaking of North Carolina, when I saw that score, losing at home, giving up 70 to James Madison, are there any rumblings at North Carolina, like getting rid of Mac Brown at his age?
No, there's not right now. I mean, listen, there were a lot of people. Now Mac actually, it was one of these things where after the game, Mac did not say that he was going to retire, but he said enough to where it made people wonder, and they had to put out a press release to say that he was not retiring immediately. But it really does make you wonder if that's a possibility. Now, and I'm being serious about this. Besides coaching football, one of the things Mac Brown does really well is he raises money. And when you've got a coach who is able to raise money, you're going to keep him around a bit. So, but Mac just had a birthday not long ago. I mean, Shane, he's 73. So obviously he's one of the older coaches. And it really does make you wonder where they have struggled as much as anything else is defensively. They had Gene Chizik there, former Auburn coach, a couple of years ago, and then they were abysmal on defense too. Jeff Collins is their D coordinator at North Carolina, that some of your listeners will certainly be familiar with. So yeah, you've got that going on. And also with the ACC, we mentioned Pitt, they are off. Louisville's at Notre Dame in an interesting game. I still like Louisville and what they can do, so forth. So will be a very interesting weekend. I do want to mention real quick in a quick note for South Carolina. Shane, you remember Robbie Ashford at Auburn transferred to South Carolina. Now Lenore Sellers was out, and in the game last week, South Carolina won. He threw for 2 touchdowns. Now listen, Ashford's not a great quarterback, but he's played enough now to where he's gotten better, to his credit. So he was able to come off the bench and bail them out in the game. But they're going to need somebody coming up next week, Shane, because next week South Carolina plays Ole Miss.
Ooh. Real quick, Chris asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Forgive me if you've already covered this, but what really happened to the UNLV quarterback? He was supposedly promised an NIL deal, did not sign any papers. This is what's being reported, so I don't know if it's true or not.
It is.
So that's on him as well for not getting it in writing,
True.
or his agent that represented him. But here's what I will say. He's an older guy. He's in like his 5th or 6th year.
Mm-hmm.
Came from maybe an Ivy League school, some small school. It's not like he's going to go anywhere else and play.
Right. Yeah.
And he basically just quit on his team.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with that.
Well, and the other issue here is, and I'm sure they've probably had some discussions about this in the coaching staff, but again, one of the assistant coaches, we understand, is the one who promised him, according to these reports, as Shane said, $100,000. And that money has not come forth, or any of it, I guess. So they've just got a real issue here. And not only did the quarterback decide to redshirt, but so did the running back, Michael Allen. So we will watch this. And again, Shane, this is a sermon on another day. But this is probably why we're heading toward contracts, right, in college football, that we can have this stuff in writing.
Yeah. He came from Holy Cross. So I don't understand. I know he's upset that he's not getting what he was promised verbally, but come on, dude. Don't quit on your team. Brent, good stuff as always, my friend. Stay safe over there, and we will talk to you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Prayers for everyone, and hopefully this thing will go through as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. Join us on the Tight Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. Take a quick time out, come back, get to some of these texts and comments and questions. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Gridiron sponsors, CertaPro Painters, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogra State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, F45, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Aikido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Core Power, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Nest and Wild, Palm Beach Autographs, Florida Victorious, Electronics World. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe. With 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua, you're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Jamie says, QB, if we lose badly to UCF, do you see them firing Billy after the loss? I don't. The only reason I say that is because, A, who are you going to make the interim, and what good is it going to do? I think there will be a change at the end of the year, but again, you have to make somebody an interim, give them more money, which we need to save the money and use it elsewhere. That's just my 2 cents. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. 2021 Ryder Cup, Whistling Straits up in Wisconsin. The U.S. beat Team Europe by a record 19-9. Dustin Johnson was 5-0 in his match play, and the President's Cup starts today, I believe, up in Montreal. And I saw some clips. Well, maybe they played yesterday too. I can't remember, but there was like nobody in the stands. It was weird. I don't know. Dan says Spurrier's is hiring. That'd be a cool place to work. No question. No question. So if you need a job, go see the head ball coach. Andy asks, Shane, Mertz seems to be the vocal leader. And of course, it went away. I'll have to find it here on my phone. I will get to it. Get back to that here in just a second. Should be coming up on my phone now. There it is. Mertz seems to be a vocal leader on offense. Could Brandon Spikes be developing that guy on defense? Maybe one of our freshmen. I don't know. Y'all are talking to the wrong person when it comes to this vocal stuff. I think you have to be who you are. You can't be fake when it comes to that stuff. I was not vocal. Danny Werfel was not vocal. Rex wasn't vocal. Really, none of Spurrier's quarterbacks were vocal because we were cerebral players. I don't know if that makes any sense, but no, you usually let the defensive guys do all the rah stuff. Now Tebow was very vocal, but that's his personality. Chris Leak was not vocal. I think you just have to let it go and be natural. And sometimes if player, I will tell you this, if players see a guy trying to be Mr. Rah-Rah vocal guy, and they know that's not who you are, they'll go, what in the hell are you doing? You look like an idiot acting like that. So Andrew says, is Lane hiring you OC? If wherever Lane goes, he calls the plays. Now, Charlie Weiss Jr. has the OC title, but Lane is in charge. Reggie says, yeah, I agree, Shane. I think they ride this horse for the rest of the season. It is what it is. Yeah, for sure. Dan wants to know, would Spike stay on with the Gator Made program? I'm not sure. I guess is that what his title is? He's part of the Gator Made program. I know he loves the university. I don't know if he wants to get into coaching or not. Some people do. Some people just want to be part of the organization to still be a part of a team. Anyway, Electronics World Integration and Design Specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation, service, and support. Go check them out. Electronicsworld.net. Andy says Tebow's vocals are fresh. That's Tebow's personality, though. He's a rah-rah guy. Not many quarterbacks are. Michael says, I think that is because they are not being coached correctly on defense, on offense too. As I've said, you can sit here and talk about X's and O's, coaching, players, all that. I think it's a combination of all of it, folks. Combination of all of it. Again, that's going to do it for today's program. Tomorrow, JC and I will be here for our Peachland Dental weekend picks. A lot of good games. We'll have Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com talking Gator hoops. They started practice on Tuesday. And again, prayers out. Everyone be safe. Get out of town. I saw I-10 going west. I think it was on the news. It was not even moving. So hopefully it's moving a little bit now and people can get out. All you Perry folks, hunker down, or actually hopefully y'all have already nailed things down and got out of town. So thoughts and prayers with y'all. We'll be here tomorrow if we have power. Have a great day, folks. Take care.